Hello there and welcome. I am by the candlelight, and today I am sharing a quick study of Ladybug. My goal for this study was to be a bit more intentional with my sketch. I think it's important to go into any piece of artwork with some kind of personal goal in mind. Just ask yourself, what do you want out of it? What in your art do you feel the need to address or improve? Or, what do you want to share or express about the piece? It doesn't have to be something big. It can be as simple as trying a new brush. Take some time to think about it. I actually like to write out my ideas in an empty page of an old sketchbook while deciding what to make. It helps me answer those questions of what I'm trying to achieve. And once you have an answer, start setting small goals for your art. Again, it can be anything. It's really up to you to decide what you want from your work. For me, I wanted to use this to improve the quality of my sketching from the last study. I'm sure if you've watched The Bee, you've probably already seen that drawing wasn't my primary focus on that. I did this sort of lazy sketch and kind of a bold outline with a script brush. But ultimately, I wanted to experiment with the brushes and just play around inside of Procreate because it was the first time I was using the program. But with the Ladybug, I knew I wanted to spend a little bit longer refining my sketch before I even started painting. As you can probably see, I've already made a lot of progress on that front. The sketch is already so much better than the Bee study, in part because by now I more or less knew where everything was and how everything worked, but also because I took my time. You can set long-term goals as well, and improving my sketching has been a long-time personal goal, in quality but more so in timing. I can paint on top of a messy sketch, but even rough drawings take time for me to finish. And it looks like I'm delving into color now. I just created a new layer and began painting various shades of green beneath the sketch, trying to hint at a background with some leaves and stems too. For the colors, I'm not using the color picker either. I know in Procreate you can literally drag and drop an image into the color palette and it'll generate your colors for you. But this is a study. You're supposed to study it. It's better to pay attention to your reference and try and find the closest approximation to what you see instead. This will help train your eye. That way, in the future, you'll be able to choose your colors without even needing to see the reference. And I'm not saying using the color picker or some kind of preset palette is a bad thing. They can actually be quite helpful. I know I use them all the time, especially when I want things to be a little more exact. But there's a difference between using tools to your advantage and relying on them entirely. That's why I never source colors directly from my reference while doing studies. I can't do that with traditional mediums, so why would I do it here on a digital canvas? Especially in a study where I'm trying to learn and improve things. I'd rather continue to build and develop that skill instead. So it looks like I've finally begun painting the Ladybug. And again, I'm just beginning here with some base colors beneath my sketch, filling things in sort of like it's a coloring page. This is always the fun part of a painting for me, because even with sort of flat colors, you can see things starting to take shape. It can be rewarding to see things come together. And with that pop of red and the little bit of black and white, the ladybug is taking form rapidly. So instead of creating another layer here, I just duplicated my base colors in my sketch and merged the duplicates together. This way everything's all in one layer. It'll allow me to have the originals in case I mess up on something, or if I need to reference my original sketch. I'm painting all of this on one layer now, and it's allowing me to redefine some of those edge artifacts left by the sketch. I don't always keep the sketch in my paintings, especially not visible. In fact, a lot of the times it'll get hidden once I start rendering, or I'll change the color to something less noticeable. I find that sometimes the sketch can actually get in the way of the painting unless you're intentionally using an outline or something. But the ladybug, it has a lot of black in the head and the legs and even the spots. So keeping the sketch here is more helpful than it is a hindrance. And it's kind of difficult to tell on the playback, especially on a different computer with different light settings. But I didn't use pure black or white in this painting. Instead, I chose a bluish gray or off-white, and something closer to a darkly tinted brown beneath the black sketch. The colors were a bit stronger in my reference, but when I paint traditionally, I rarely use anything straight out of a tube. I always tint or tone the colors, at least to start. That way I can layer lighter or darker colors later if I need to. When I was in college, one of my painting teachers actually told me to never use pure black or white in a painting. I don't completely agree with that. There's a time and a place for everything. But I don't think we should go directly to those colors, especially at first. I think it's something you should just build up to instead. So, while this is a study and I'm attempting accuracy, I'm also making decisions based on my experiences. And in this case, it means not following my reference exactly. For a while, that was actually one of my long-term goals. I used to be one of those artists that relied heavily on references. Basically one-to-one paintings, meaning I was trying to replicate my reference as close as possible. And I like to think that I was pretty good at it too. The problem with that was, anytime I tried to create something original, it didn't look quite the same caliber as when I was adhering to a pre-made image. But one of the personal goals I set for myself was to break out of that. I started by making small intentional changes to the studies I did. Curly hair instead of straight hair, a frown instead of a smile. Here I changed the angle of the ladybug and tilted the head a bit more. These changes weren't big. Sometimes they were just small differences to set it apart from the source material. Small goals to fulfill a larger one. And for the most part, it's worked as intended. For my next goal, I think I need to work a bit more on backgrounds. Mine isn't drastically different, but I couldn't figure out how to blur the leaves correctly, and it didn't look right, so I kind of just gave up on them. And now it just looks kind of messy and unfinished, but that's the good thing about studies. They don't have to be perfect, and they definitely don't have to be pretty. I achieved the goal I set out with, and I probably could have stopped there if I wanted to, but why do things halfway? Have you figured out what small goals you want to set for your artwork? Any areas you need to improve or things you want to try? Let me know the answers in the comments. But here's the finished study. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and that you join me for the next one. Until next time.